Before we get started with this video, I'd like to thank Mark for his comment on one of the previous videos on the channel where he recommends Waters Unvexed from High Flying Dice Games. He says he picked it up for a friend and he would like to see what my review of it would be. Well, this is just going to be a first look at the components, and then we will be playing this game and you'll get some of my feedback at that point. But again, thank you so much, Mark. I really appreciate you watching the channel, and a game suggestion like this is right up my alley. Let's get into it. So Waters Unvexed has a BGG rating of 10 with only one vote. Wonder who did that. It doesn't have a complexity rating yet, but having read through the rules, I'm going to give this about a 5 to maybe 6. Doesn't look to be overly complicated, looks to be quick and easy to learn. The designer is Paul Robrow, artist Bruce Yerian, and the publisher is High Flying Dice Games. I think I paid about $21, $22 for this. So to start off with, you're going to need to supply a 6-sided dice, a 10-sided dice, and a deck of standard playing cards. Whoa, easy. Here's our rules. We have an errata. Simple. 10 pages of rules. We have our introduction, game components and terms. Pretty straightforward stuff. We get into sequence of play. And the activation phase talks about using the cards to determine who gets to go when and how many activations they get and how the turns end. You're going to get 3 different actions you can do during an activation phase. You can either move, which includes ramming and torpedo attacks. You can fire, or you can attempt to repair damage. Activations go back and forth until the end of a turn. Then we check to see if win conditions have been met or if the end of the game, last turn, has been played. It talks about how to resolve attacks here, ramming attacks, mine torpedo attacks, and critical hits. You've got markers that deal with bridge damage, fire, propulsion hit, or steering hit. You can imagine how that plays out. There are some special rules for Fortunes of War, which just add a little bit of randomness to the game. And then how to win the game. Victory points are awarded. Pretty straightforward, normal stuff. Nothing overly complicated here, which is nice. And the 3 battles that the game includes, Island number 10 portrays a Union attack that compels the surrender of the island garrison and destroy and capture its artillery April 7, 1962. The second game, the Battle of Plum Point Bend, portrays a Confederate attack on May 10, 1862. And the third game portrays the climactic naval Battle of Memphis on June 6, 1862. Pretty nice. And it's got the setup, some rules for it, and designer notes for Island number 10. Same thing with Plum Point Bend Union setup, Confederate setup, any specific rules, designer notes for that particular game/scenario. Followed up with the First Battle of Memphis, same thing in designer notes. There's a bibliography, and then just a cool picture. Here's your random tables, and that's just normal paper. Game talks about when you will do random events. Then we get some player aids. And this talks about your activations movement and gives you some detail and reminds you of any dice roll modifiers that are applied for these various parts of the rules. It's nice to have. Then get card stock, single-sided, for your game track, transportation mortar raft damage, your facings, some things to do with Fortunes of War, and then some of the batteries and how they take damage. Very nice. And again, this is card stock. Very nice. I love the little graphics in the background. These are the counters. And we're going to see, I also got game-specific cards. It's a deck of cards that are smaller. And again, I'm going to bring up my desire that there's a nice thick black line here so that I can cut these without having to be an expert. That's the only complaint I have. These are nice looking counters. cardstock. I can cut these with scissors just as is and use them, or glue them onto, again, I like to use comic book backing cards or boards. And then here's the aforementioned deck of cards. Kind of a nice little look. And you're going to get 3 activations, 2 activations, and then red is for Confederate activations, black is for Union activations. And then you've got the jokers, which either a random event or trigger a turn, and it talks about how that's handled during the game with your activations. Pretty nice. I like getting these because I like to get the immersion of the whole game. And these are cardstock, so I can cut them as is. And then finally, a nice little surprise that came in for, well, not finally, but we're going to look at the maps, but a little ad for Against the Odds, which I do have subscription again, so you're going to see some of that on the channel soon. And you know what I love? Me some postcard games. Yay! So this is Gold Beach Landings. This was totally random. I got one in mine. I can only suspect you might get one in yours, but don't hold me to that. But that's pretty cool. And then here's kind of a general look at the maps. Let me move this out of the way. Memphis, island number 10, Plum Point, and you can see they're slightly different. Pretty straightforward. What you might expect in a river battle game. Nice clean hexes and lay nice and flat. And by the way, they are thick card. So there you go, the components of Waters Unvexed. And as always, thank you guys so much for taking time to check out what I do here on the channel. Please leave a like on the video, add a comment. I reply to all the comments. And please take a second to hit the subscribe button. I'm trying to grow this channel, and your help is greatly appreciated. Until next time, goodbye for now.